Sometimes we may need a reminder to express gratitude. So for me, it's all about keeping those gentle reminders right in front of me. That brings me to my project today. Keeping those gentle reminders in front of me is exactly what I had in mind when I created my gratitude chalk bottles. It's a really easy process to apply chalkboard paint to the bottles and spell out your gratitude. Let me show you how. I found lots of bottles everywhere. They're in my recycle bin. They are at the consignment store. You will be able to find glass bottles, of course, just about everywhere. And the cool thing about this project is that the different sizes really add a lot of variety to the look. So this actually was a glass container that I got some bath salts in. So I thought, I'm going to grab everything I can and start applying my chalk paint to it. The first thing you want to do when you're working on glass is be sure and clean it with alcohol and get any of the residue off so that the paint and the tape will stick. I like to use the blue painter's tape to just mask off my bottles and my jars. When you are working on glass with your chalk paint, you do want to use this spray version of chalk paint, but you can also find the brush-on chalk paint at your craft store. So if you prefer to use brush-on for some of your other surfaces like your wood and such, you can definitely use your brush on. But for all the projects that I'm sharing with you today, I did use the spray on chalk paint that I found at my local hardware store. So you keep applying your tape around your edges, and I do need to warn you, be sure and cover up all of the surfaces that you don't want sprayed, because when you start spraying, it goes everywhere. So keep in mind you want to tape off every place where you don't want the spray. The next thing you would want to do is step outside, well-ventilated area, and you're going to spray the surface with your chalkboard paint. Let that first coat dry according to the package directions and apply a second coat and let that dry. After it sets for a couple of hours and it's dry to the touch, I like to remove my tape at that point, and you just pull it right off, and you're going to get a clean line where you have put your tape. So keep working until that comes off, and you can see I have one side of this great square glass jar and lots of extra tape. And you can see that the chalk paint is applied here. What I found on these glass pieces is you have to be very careful when it comes time to chalk these. When you first get your chalk out of the package, it can be pretty sharp on the edges, and so you might want to run this chalk on a piece of paper so that it takes that outside coating off. And there's a couple of choices. You can actually season your chalk paint, which is running your chalk, the side of your chalk, over that and just season it. I just use my fingers, because once you start using these over and over again, that's what it's going to look like anyway. So I just go ahead and I start chalking. So when it comes time to actually start writing with your chalk, I found a really neat hint that came through earlier this week from my friend Crafty Chica. And she said that she's going to get a little video demo together, but she teaches how to actually sharpen your chalk. And I need to tell you that when I was first working with my chalk, I didn't even think about doing this. So it's a great way to write with your chalk. And what I like to do is actually use lots of colors. So let's say we were starting with the G for gratitude. Bring in lots of color. So it's really easy to draw. If you want to also, if you want to blend those colors, you can just run your finger through. That's what I did on the bottle here. You can see I used lots of different colors. You are right, there is not a glass bottle that's going to be safe in your home because it is so quick and so easy and so much fun to create this look. What I'd like to do now is show you a couple other examples of what I did with the chalk paint. Of course, when all of the snow melts away and the spring flowers come, you can use your chalk paint on clay pots. You would just tape those off the same way, spray or brush on your chalk paint, and write some inspiring words. What I also like to do is take those little blocks that you find in the wood department at your craft store and spray them up, and you can write all sorts of words. And when you want to change out your word of the day, the word of the week, or the word of the month, you can spell it out with chalk. And what's fun about these cubes is that you can stack them up in so many different ways. Also, did you know that the swirl design is the symbol for gratitude? So that's what I tucked in the bottom right hand. If you like to hang up a nice little wall piece, this was a piece of wood that I bought again in the wood department at the craft store, and it's all about love. And it was a snowy day when I took the photo of this. So this is my love chalkboard in the snow. What I did to hang this is I just stapled the ribbon onto the back, tied it in a knot, created a ribbon rose from the same ribbon, and glued that on to my hanger. There are so many different ways that you can express your gratitude and your love with chalk paint.